This tutorial is part of our Pouch Club series with Moda Fabrics. This month we're making the Pencil Me In pouch, which is perfect for back to school. The Pencil Me In pouch pattern can be found in paper and PDF formats at soluxfabric.com and quilt shops everywhere. Once you have your pattern and cut out all your pieces, you're ready to begin sewing. After you've cut all your pieces, you're going to begin by sewing together the rectangle units that make up the body of the pencil point end, as well as the eraser end. The next thing you'll do is to sew the corners with some exterior print squares. And you can see I'm showing you that I'll just be sewing on the diagonal and then pressing toward the corner. For the pencil point end, you're going to do one corner and then press and do the other corner because it's essentially a flying geese block. Anytime I sew corners like this, I generally will take a few minutes to just make sure that my pieces are still the right size. Sometimes when you're sewing flip and stitch corners, or if you're using some cross weave or linen or something like that, they can get a little bit wonky. So I like to just take a second and do this just to make sure. You can see I'm not trimming much off here, just cleaning it up a little bit, and this helps me maintain accurate piecing. Then all you have to do is sew the pencil point and the eraser ends to the left and right ends of the pencil body, and you're ready to move on. I'm going to be pressing toward the eraser and then toward the pencil here, and then I'm going to add the exterior pieces, the left and right sides, and then the top and bottom. This will finish off your pouch front. Now that the front of the exterior has been pieced together, I'm going to use some SF101, which is a woven fusible interfacing, and I'm going to adhere that to the wrong side of the pouch front as well as the pouch back. I'm just going to use an iron here to make that stick together, and I've got this at double speeds just so you're aware that it's going to take a few seconds for that. Now that I have the front of the pouch interfaced, I'm going to go ahead and add some decorative stitching here around the outside edges of the pencil. So I'm just using a regular straight stitch here. Of course, if you wanted to use any special stitches or add some embroidery or even some hand stitching, this would be a great time to go ahead and do that before we finish assembling the pouch. To make a zipper tab, I'm going to take a 2-inch square, fold it in half, and then press those raw edges in toward that center crease. And this makes a little sort of folded case for the end of my zipper. So I'm going to trim off the end of the closed end of the zipper first and put that into the tab and stitch that tab closed. And you can see what that looks like here. And then I'm going to measure the length of my zipper, and I usually will measure 1 inch narrower or shorter than the top width of my pouch. And I'm going to do that from the edge of the tab I just installed and make a mark where I'm going to be chopping off the other end of the zipper. You can see here that I have moved the zipper pull down and then just sewed the zipper closed along that line, and I'm going to trim the excess tape off and then add the other tab just like I did with the first tab. And once I've done that, I'll then trim away the excess tab so that it lines up with the edges of the zipper tape, and then I'll be ready to install my zipper. Now that you have the zipper all set, we're gonna get everything we need. We have exterior, we have our zipper, and then we also need our lining. If you're gonna be adding any type of label or some other adornment to the inside of your lining, this would be the time to do that. Sometimes I like to add these cute little Stitch with Love or Quilting is My Superpower or whatever, different types of labels. We have some of those in the shop, and I'll link them down in the description of the video. But you're going to take the zipper and place that face down, so right side down on top of the exterior of the pouch, just like I'm doing here. aligning that tape along the top edge of the pouch. And I'm clipping these in place here with some clover clips, and then I'm going to add my lining on top of that. Now, if you're new to sewing zippers, I would baste that zipper in place and then come back and add the lining. I've put in many zippers, and so I'm feeling pretty comfortable here. Then I'm going to head over to my machine and use my zipper foot to install this zipper. I typically will move my needle over to the left 3 positions and then begin sewing to install the zipper. You're going to see here that I just flipped my pouch over, and I like to sew with the exterior on top when I'm installing a zipper on a pouch. I find that sometimes when the lining is on top, it'll travel a little bit, and this just is my personal preference for how I like to do that. As you're sewing along, you're going to get close to the zipper pull, and you're going to want to stop before you get to that with the needle in the down position. Just lift up that top layer and move the zipper pull back. So you can't see here, but I'd use the knee lift to bring my presser foot up. And again, I've got my needle in the down position when I do that so that I don't lose where I'm stitching and create a wonky seam there. Once you've got that all set, you're going to then press or finger press that seam back away from the zipper, and then I'll go back and just top stitch that down. And then I'm going to repeat that whole process with the other side or the back side of the pouch and other lining rectangle. After you've installed the zipper, it's time to finish up the pouch. And so you're going to pull that zipper pull so that the zipper is open. That will help you turn your pouch later. You're going to pin it or clip it so that the right sides of the lining are together and the right sides of the exterior are together. And then you're going to sew all the way around, down both long sides, down the bottom of the exterior, and then on the bottom of the lining. But you want to be sure to leave like a 3 or 4 inch hole in the bottom of the lining so that we can turn our pouch at the end. Our final step before we finish the pouch is to box the corners. You can see here that I'm going to use a ruler and make a 1 inch square in each corner of the exterior as well as the lining. You can see that I'm measuring from the raw edge of both the side and the bottom, and this is because we have a seam on both the side and the bottom. If one of those was a fold, for example, if the bottom of the lining was a fold, we would want to be more careful about where that placement is. But here we just need to be consistent in all 4 corners, and I've just decided to use the raw edge instead of inside the seam allowance here. You can see that I'm going to cut out each of those corners carefully, and then I'm going to smush that opening closed. So I'm going to pull apart carefully the pouch there so I can line up the side seam and the bottom seam, and you're going to see that I'm going to nest the seam there, meaning that I have the side seam going in one direction and the bottom seam going in another, and that just gives me a nice flat intersection. And then I'm going to use a 1/4 inch inseam to close that, and be sure to backstitch at the beginning and the end, and that way it doesn't pop open later, because that would be tragic. You're going to continue and do this on all 4 corners of the pouch, and it will look like this. Then you're going to carefully turn it inside out. This is why it's important to have that zipper open before you close up the pouch. And I'm just going to gently push this through and use my fingers to push out the corners where the zipper tabs are. as well as the bottom corners of the pouch. And I'm going to just gently finger press those in place, and I'll iron those in place once I have closed up the pouch. So I have this opening here in the lining, and I'm going to machine stitch that closed. I'll just use just right along the edge, and you could also slip stitch this by hand if you prefer. And that's it for this pouch. It's super fun and cute. You can certainly customize it in many ways, and I hope that you, a teacher or student, will enjoy using this fun Pencil Me In pouch. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to make your own Pencil Me In pouch, you can find our patterns at fine quilt retailers as well as at our website, SolexFabric.com.